is in the States and in developed countries. Little things just piss us off, right? Just every little thing just irritates the crap out of us. And in Africa, every little thing that goes right is a cause for celebration. Oh, the electricity's on. Yay. Oh, the internet's working. Yay. Oh, there's an actual patch of nice, smooth road. Yay. I mean, you just celebrate the little things because everything's so foobar down there. It's not even funny. We're going from Bulawayo in Zimbabwe to Vic Falls, for instance. And the guy that's driving, a good friend of mine, he gets arrested for speeding. That's what they don't just pull him over. We're arresting you for speeding, he says. And my friend starts arguing. It's like, I wasn't speeding. And the cop says, yes, you were doing 128 kilometers and the speed limit's 120. And my friend says, well, I think I was doing less than that. And the cop says, well, maybe it was 125. Oh, we're just eyeballing this, I guess. So my friend gets out of the car and starts talking to the police officer, and comes back to me and he says, do you have any small bills? And I said, well, I only have a 20 US. And he says, well, they're only needing 5. All right. So he gave him the 20 because that was the smallest we had. And all the police were very happy. The ticket is, it's gone, it's gone,
Of course.
and there's no receipt, of course. You don't get a receipt for having paid this fine. You're just on your merry way. So, you come back from an experience like that and it's like, wow, everything works. What do we have really to bitch about? It's like nothing, right? So.
Welcome to The Outliers Inn, produced by the Operational Excellence Society and sponsored by Zonatech Consulting Group International, with your hosts, Joseph Paris and David Schneider.
Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of The Outliers Inn. I'm your host, Mule, along with a couple of other guys, JP and the beer man, Don. How you guys doing today?
Not so bad. How about you guys?
Doing wonderful.
Use guys.
Yeah, guys. I've been having a lot of fun
last night.
Yeah, it was. It was an excellent Super Bowl. I had split decision on who I was going to root for about 4 microseconds.
And did your team come through?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yes, they did. Though I lived in Philadelphia for 12 years, and it was, the last few years I lived there was when Coach Reed was there. And there was a lot of hope and a lot of promise that was coming at that time through it. So, Reed knew what he was doing. It was just took him some more time to find a team to be able to get him there. So I'm impressed with that. And it was a fun game. It was probably one of the best games Super Bowls I've seen in the last decade.
Yeah, it was. It was real close, and that was good.
Yeah, I woke up and it was like 8 seconds left when the field goal was hit. That was a lot tighter a game than I thought it was going to be. So that's always exciting when that happens,
Oh,
yeah.
So I almost learned how to score cricket. I was in Southern Africa, and Southern Africa Africa in general gives you some attitude adjustments. Okay. Cricket, I still don't understand all the runs, and there's 14 different ways you can get out. And in cricket, when you're out, you're actually out. You can't bat anymore. So it's a little bit different than baseball in that regard. But what I came to discover in reflection on Africa is in the States and in developed countries. Little things just piss us off, right? Just every little thing just irritates the crap out of us. And in Africa, every little thing that goes right is is a cause for celebration. Oh, the electricity's on. Yay. Oh, the internet's working. Yay. Oh, there's an actual patch of nice, smooth road. Yay. I mean, you just celebrate the little things because everything's so foobar down there. It's not even funny. We're going from Bulawayo in Zimbabwe to Vic Falls, for instance. And the guy that's driving, a good friend of mine, he gets arrested for speeding. That's what he's, they don't just pull him over. We're arresting you for speeding, he says. And my friend starts arguing. It's like, I wasn't speeding. And the cop says, yes, you were doing 128 kilometers and the speed limit's 120. And my friend says, well, I think I was doing less than that. And the cop says, well, maybe it was 125. Oh, we're just eyeballing this, I guess. So my friend gets out of the car and starts talking to the police officer, and comes back to me and he says, do you have any small bills? And I said, well, I only have a 20 US. And he says, well, they're only needing 5. All right. So he gave him the 20 because that was the smallest we had. And all the police were very happy. The ticket is, it's gone, it's gone,
Of course.
and there's no receipt, of course. You don't get a receipt for having paid this fine. You're just on your merry way. So, you come back from an experience like that and it's like, wow, everything works. What do we have really to bitch about? It's like nothing, right? So anyway, I wanted to share that. And there was like thousands of other anecdotes that I could go, but this is only an hour-long program and I don't want to take it all up. What about you guys? What do you got? What keen insights have you to share recently?
Yeah, I've been just bouncing off of yours a little bit. I had a long time ago, somebody that turned in a receipt. They were doing a lot of business in India, and they had a line item on their expense form, which was called facilitation charges. That's where I told them, that's really, you don't have a receipt for this, do you? No, then I can't really approve it. But that gets to something I've been playing around with, and that's way back in the 60s. Lawrence Peters, this professor from Canada, he was observing organizations, and he came up with this principle that in any hierarchy, people rise to their highest level of incompetence. They get promoted, and there's all sorts. He was based it on very serious study, but he chose to present it in a satirical format. And the first time he presented it, this is hilarious because it's like, well, is this really a competent way to present it or not? It was a group of professors that all were tied to getting grants from the government. And so they were grant writers who had now been promoted to being directors of research programs that they had written the grant to get, and now they had the money. And so he made this presentation about people get elevated to higher and higher levels of incompetence to this group. And the reaction was a mixture of hilarity, people falling out of their chairs, and people pissed off and angry and throwing things at him. And this is back in the 60s. So you got to wonder, how well he was tuned to his audience. But I've been working on a notion with this that, Peter's talked about not only people being highly, higher levels of incompetence, but what happens to those people who are highly competent? And, what does the organization do to those who are highly competent? And he said those who were much more competent than the core were often exfoliated. Washed away. And I've been looking at that there's a couple of organizations that I have been watching from the outside, and they've been doing some exfoliation. And it's been interesting to who's been getting exfoliated and who isn't getting exfoliated as all these companies are doing the reorganization. And I bet you that there is a bunch of smart people that are out on the marketplace that may find, that are, it's not that it's difficult for them to find a job. It's just that they don't want to go back into that bloodbath again. So, interesting thought process. There's a couple of people that I've talked to in the past 3 weeks that they were too smart for their own good, and now are free agents.
Now they have been liberated to
They're
choose a
free.
new path.
They've been freed.
They-
Yeah.
like the
And-
12,000 people at Twitter that have been made free.
And they
Oh,
didn't,
yeah.
they didn't
Yep.
really didn't think through the consequence of what, it was with a couple of these folks, it was they went to a gunfight with a knife. They thought that the argument was here, but no, the argument was over here, and didn't get it, and gone. Very smart people, very talented people, but those organizations decided, we don't need you anymore. You're too smart for us.
Yeah, but smart people will find their way anyway. I mean, it's
They
you don't see too many smart people that are out of a job for too long, unless of course they think they're smart and they're not.
Well,
Then
you
that's a whole different set of problems.
Well, you got to remember, there's two things. You can either you can be smart and have zero common sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
Or-
that.
Hold it. What was the other?
yeah.
What was the second?
Those
thing?
are the two things:
Oh,
smarts and common sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Common sense
Yeah,
can
there's
go a
a-
long way to a lack of intelligence.
Yeah. So, and some of that common sense people are thankful are born with, but most of it ends up being the scar tissue that you earn along the way.
Yeah.
Well, Don is just speaking from experience.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll show you my scars. How about yours? What's up?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I
So-
actually got pulled over in New Hampshire. I couldn't believe it. I asked the guys up there, and I said, what's the tolerance under speed limits up here? Because New York State, 15 miles an hour over the limit. They don't know how to come bother you. So, one guy says, on that one road, and it's only a 2-lane, he says, don't go over 62. You go over 62, you're going to get pulled over. It's okay, fine. And there's really not, it's 15 miles worth of, it's a lot of
2-lane.
traffic, and yeah, you're not going to be passing anybody. So you might as well just relax and go along. So here I am, I'm cruising along, and car in front of me, he's got 6 to 8 car lengths in front of him. A guy in back of me, he's 6 to 8 car lengths in back of me. Just cruising along, about 60. And all of a sudden I look in the rearview mirror, and here's the blue lights coming, and this guy is flying. And I'm like, oh crap, somebody's getting pulled over. So guy in back of me pulls over, I pull over, sure as crap. And he pulls up in back of me, and I'm like, what did I do? And I waited and waited and waited. And my hands are on the steering wheel. They're not leaving it. And, finally he comes up, introduces himself, real nice guy. And he says, he says, your plates or your car came up as, wanted for something at some place. I have no idea. And he said, I had to do a manual check on it. He says, so you're good to go.
Oh, the automatic license plate reader came
Yeah.
back with a false positive.
Yep.
Well, you weren't the guy. That's all there is
No,
to it. You weren't the
the
guy.
guy. No.
No.
So
I was going to say, is it the New York license plate, or, or is that when you start going, I'm a Patriots fan?
yeah, I'm from upstate New York.
Yeah, upstate. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, so one of our guests here is sitting at a lounge in an airport, a place that we've frequented, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Seen a couple of lounges in our time. So, Sam, you there still?
I'm still with you.
All right. How you doing, Sam? Where are you off to today?
Well, I'm at Copenhagen Airport, and I'm flying back home to Stockholm after 3 days of teaching classes in the south of Sweden.
Nice.
Weekend
nice.
classes are the best.
Weekend classes. And now, which is the country that's got the crazy taxes on alcohol?
That's Sweden.
That's Sweden. So you're stocking
Yep.
up. That's why you're in the lounge.
Yep.
You're taking it with you.
I am enjoying a glass of wine.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So what was the class on that you're attending or teaching?
Teaching. Well,
Ah.
I'm an agile coach, so I was teaching agile system development to one internal course of my company, and then one wrapping up a previous course with some clients in the insurance industry. So all in all, lots of good people, lots of laughs, and hopefully lots of learnings.
Well, that's good. That's good. Was it? Do you get out in the field often or no?
Quite a lot recently, actually. It's been, I guess that when a lot of companies are reorganizing and looking over their ways of working, then there is also a lot of people who are like, well, people are going to take on new roles. We're replacing some consultants. We need to train the new people. So thus far, it's been pretty good business this year.
Good. And when the year's just started, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I got a lot of things on my plate this year too. I got a couple more coming online this
Yeah.
week. In fact,
I was actually thinking about that, Joe. If I recall correctly, when you are in Germany, are you still based out of Hamburg?
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Oh, yeah. Sorry, got confused there. My company just opened up an office in Hamburg, so I was hoping we get a chance to have one of those gummy bears in person sometime soon.
Yeah, the gummy bears. One of the gummy bears. You know, with Hamburg, that's still like 5 hours away from Frankfurt, if I'm not mistaken, by train, 5 or 6 hours. So that's way up there. But you know, it's supposed to be a really nice city. I haven't been there yet, so maybe in the summertime. I won't go there in the winter time, but maybe in the summertime it would be a good excuse to get together. Yeah,
we'll see what we can do. I'm also my girlfriend lives in Germany, so now I'm visiting Düsseldorf quite often. If you're or Bielefeld, but Düsseldorf is the closest large city. So
yeah, well, Dusseldorf is not that far from here anyway, so it's about an hour and 20 or something like that by train. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I like taking the train in Europe because, you know, you have the restaurant car, you get to watch the world go by. You don't have to, you know, too many cares in the world. As long as you can get there direct. You know, sometimes when you have to change trains, it can get a little bit iffy. As I discovered when there was that ice storm and I was trying to get together with Stefan. But yeah, that's cool. So what do you have planned for as the weather warms up?
Well, it's just going to be a lot of work, I think. I'm lots of client engagement, and I'm also wrapping up my business school degree. So I'm not really having much hope for vacation. What little spare time I have, I'm going to go to Germany and hang out with my girl.
Okay, that sounds good. What are you getting, a master's degree in business?
Not quite. It's a private business school, and the European setup is you have to be an accredited university for a master's. So I'm taking the first step. Maybe I'll get an MBA and, you know, start posting inane content on LinkedIn.
Yeah, there was a friend of mine, another Stefan. I did a interview with him on my State of Readiness podcast, and you know, it's really screwed up some of the academics here in Europe. He's got a bachelor's degree in psychology, and he's owned a business consulting firm for 15 years. So he wanted to go back to get his MBA, and the German academy or whatever it is, they say they treated him as a rookie, as if he doesn't know anything about business, and they wanted him to start over from you know, year zero, semester zero, like right at the beginning. It's like insane. So he ended up getting not just his master's, but his doctorates in business in the UK, because they took his bachelor's degree and they said, that's convertible. We'll just, you know, let you start, you know, where you left off. And I just thought
maybe I should do that. I mean, then it would be Dr. Storm.
Yeah, Dr. Storm.
Dr. Storm.
You know,
that's cool.
That's really that's really got a Stanley Kubrick kind of name to it, doesn't it? Right? You know, the Dr. Strangelove, Dr. Storm, you know, learn to live with the bomb. So
yeah, really.
So well, that's good. That's great. Steve, you there? You still with us?
I am.
All right. Welcome, Steve. First time at the Outliers Inn. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're out there on the left coast. Had the great pleasure of visiting you last summer. I tell you what, you guys got a nice special life out there. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I have absolutely no complaints. I mean, having grown up in New York, New York's a nice place to visit now. I promise.
Yeah.
In general, it is a good life here. We do enjoy it. We got a lot of rain. It's one of the few places where you enjoy rain because you don't get a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Whereabouts
when
you-
I was there
whereabouts are you at?
visiting you,
We're in San Diego.
yeah, when I was out there visiting you, the weather was stunningly beautiful. It's like 75 and sunny every day. I did take a Hobie cat out and dumped it because it's like an 8-man Hobie cat, and I'm one guy, and I got tossed around like a one guy and a 8-man Hobie cat, and I forgot to release the sail and dumped it. Had to have actually somebody else help right it because even with my mass, I couldn't get it righted. So yeah, a little bit of an adventure. So yeah, but it was great out there, and the golfing was great. And Torrey Pines was awesome. Did they just have a tournament out there?
They just had the Farmers Open.
Farmers Open. That's what I thought. Yeah, so that was
an annual tournament they have there.
Yeah. Now that's a PGA stop, right?
That's a PGA stop, and last June, maybe the June before, they had the US Open there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was really funny. When I was there, went into the pro shop, and all the Greg Norman shirts were like 50% off. I thought that was hysterical.
Well, I get the sense even before Live Golf that Greg Norman was always a discount brand.
Yeah,
I felt like his clothes were always discounted. I mean, but it's always a special place when I go there, and it was nice that you were able to join us there. Actually, that was
for dinner. That was really
dinner,
great.
and we got a good sunset. That was an awesome sunset that day.
Yeah. And the golf wasn't so bad either, was it? I mean, that was a lot of fun.
It was. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a golf nut, and I love golfing, but also very involved with junior golf in Southern California. I'm on the board of our Southern California Golf Association's Junior Golf Foundation, and that's I have a lot of passion there that I really enjoy, and because I'm on the board, I get to bring a lot of my my business sense to a foundation, which it's fun of trying to apply for-profit business sense to a nonprofit. Some of it's the same, some of it isn't.
Well, it's all about cash flow at the end of the day, right? If you don't have the cash, then there's a limit to what you can do.
Right, and their cash isn't sales, it's fundraising. Well,
right,
it's a different type of sale.
Right.
And meeting people that have the same passion you do that are willing to support that.
Yeah. Well, when it's the weather like you have it there, and you have quite a few golf courses, I would say that the intersection of talent and resources is makes for likelihood of success.
Who's the target for the fundraising? And what's some of the programs that the foundation supports?
So the foundation has 4 main programs that we support for Southern California, which is based Southern California. We define as like the Santa Barbara down, so it's the bottom third of the state. And so we have what we call a golf pass, which we subsidize kids so they can go to golf courses and get range balls for $1, play a round of golf for $5, and so a lot of the fundraising subsidizes that, and a lot of it's in neighborhoods where kids otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity. Another one is we do player and youth development, where we actually have 4 8-week clinics throughout the year at different golf courses throughout multiple counties. And we actually have the staff and of the coaches that work with the kids. And it's sort of like a little league. You have the weekends, during the week, you have weeknights after school and weekends. Then there's a girls club where the LPGA works with a lot of the local girls on not only the golf program, but just life in general. And then we offer college scholarships. So we've had kids that have been in our programs from when they were 5 years old through high school. And then they apply, and we offer very generous college scholarships. Matter of fact, in a few weeks, we have a big fundraiser at Pebble Beach. We do a Pro-Am tournament. So I sponsor a team there. There's 20 teams sponsored. And you bring the pro from your club with you, plus 3 amateurs. And in one night, between the buy-in for the teams and the dinner where they ask for fundraising, you know, in a one-night event, you have $250,000 for next year's scholarships to put towards that.
Yep.
So this is a
And,
serious
nice.
program. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
It's a serious program. I mean, it's going to get even more serious because now we're the charitable arm also of the U.S. Open out of LA Country Club this year. So we're actually doing a $20 million campaign there.
Wow.
Which we're still in the quiet phase. We'll go public next month, and a $5 million of that we have earmarked for expanding programs and ensuring the sustainability of the programs we're doing. And then $15 million, there's a golf course in LA that is in need of some TLC, and it's been a great community course. It's the Maggie Hathaway course, and so we basically brought in golf course architects and everybody, and we're going to do a new clubhouse for them, redo the course, and we're putting junior golf coaching in there too. And and that's sort of going to be the legacy of the U.S. Open, is going to be that course out of LA Country Club.
So is this one of the largest golf foundations? Frankly, you know, we had a PGA stop in Binghamton, New York called the BC Open, and now it's the Dick's Open, a stop in the Champions Tour. But is your foundation and your efforts, is it the biggest in the country? Because I'll tell you what, you know, the numbers you're sharing and the effort that you're sharing, it's a significant enterprise.
You know, for a regional foundation, I don't know the answer to your question, but for regional, I will tell you that people come and look at us for what we're doing regionally. We won national awards for our player and youth development programs. So I mean, it's serious, and the folks that are actually on staff doing the work every day, they are some crazy, passionate people, and it's a joy to support them.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, how many professional stops are there in Southern California?
Well, I'm trying to think. We just had Torrey. We had Pebble Beach for the AT&T. I think they just did their West Coast swing. I think, and then we have the Genesis coming up. But I think, and then US Open. So I think we have 4 or 5 stops a year in California. And then we just had the Waste Management in Arizona, which is sort of West too.
Right. So that was the one with the streaker, right?
Had the streaker, but that's probably one of the more fun tournaments. That's the one where they have a par 3 where they have stadiums completely surrounding the tee box. It's all enclosed. The golfers have to walk through a tunnel to get to the hole, and the crowd goes nuts. Like if you hit a bad shot, they boo you. If you and these are professional PGA players, and man, if you get close to the hole, they get all excited. If you make a birdie, they'll throw beer out on the course. It's like
it's like going to an Eagles game.
Exactly. Oh, that's pretty crazy. So what else you got on the docket for the year, Steve?
Well, let's see. besides in the golf world and in the work world that pays
Just
bills?
in general, just in
Oh, in
general.
general, some travel. I do have family still in Boston, so planning some travel out there, just to visit. And then by the end of the year, we're doing a big family reunion up in the New England area. That's good. And on the on the day-to-day grind, I mean, I've got a group of people I work with that are doing some really fun things this year. We're getting people to get outside their comfort zone and innovate a little more than they may have previously. So that's always a lot of fun to see people discover their creative juices.
Yeah. We have a pretty good and interesting corporate environment, corporate culture there. You have that, the entrepreneurial spirit, but there's not chaos. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a mature organization anyway, so I wouldn't have guessed otherwise. But I like the way that the team worked together when I was with you all. It was great.
Yep. So, and part of my job on the team is to, recognize when there's not enough chaos, and make sure that it's there. I mean, you need the edginess, right?
Yeah.
And so every now and then, I'm not the favorite person in the room because I stir the pot a little, but that's my job.
It's
So,
just new challenges, right?
yep.
That's all you're putting
Yeah.
in front of them. Here's a new challenge.
And in my job description, my job is to challenge the team to do better.
Yeah. I remember there was this movie with Dom DeLuise. He was Captain Chaos. I don't know if I forget what the name of the movie was, but
That was Smokey and the Bandit.
No, it wasn't. No, Dom
Or was it
DeLuise.
Cannonball Run?
Cannonball Run. That's it.
Cannonball
That's
Run.
it. So yeah, we'll have to get Steve a cape and a cap that says Captain Chaos.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit like what I do with the robotics kids, because they come up with these great ideas. Here's this mechanism we want to design. And then I go, okay, so how are you going to make that? How are we going to make this? It's, throwing in challenges. And there's, you have some of them that they'll rise to the occasion for it and, redesign. And then there's others that you have to kind of coach through it to get them to hey, it's not that I told you it was a bad idea. It's you hadn't thought it through enough. Come on, let's keep going. And so how much chaos you have to serve up sometimes is dependent on the person that needs it served to.
Yeah,
Agreed.
maybe if you could share with Steve, for 30 seconds what the robotics is all about, because that would be something that Steve would sink his teeth into too.
This is like my 7th year. I've mentored a high school robotics team at Chantilly High School in Chantilly, Virginia. And build season starts the first Saturday of January. That's when you find out what the game is, how the game's going to be played. And competition starts around the end of February. So you have basically about 8 weeks to design and build an industrial robot that is going to have to operate autonomously for 15 seconds and then teleop, remote control operation for another 2 minutes, 15 seconds. And the robot's got to be able to pick up objects and deposit objects, and almost always involves having to climb something. So this year, the robot has to climb a platform that tilts and pivots, and they have to climb up and then balance the platform and be able to maintain that balance when their power turns off at the end of the match. But I've been doing this for about this is 7th season now. And I run the foundation that supports the team. So some of the fundraising issues, things like that, that you were sharing, putting business practices into place. It's a student-led team though. So the students lead the team. My job is more like on the board of directors, where it's, okay, we might be able to do that, but where are you going to get the funding? Where are you going to get this? The interesting challenge is, imagine having a company that you have 100% turnover every year, because your CEO and all those people leave every year by design. And you have
Yeah, but don't
everybody raise up.
the juniors take over the senior spot though, right? So
Yeah, they do.
there is a bit
There's
of
a
a
progression.
transfer.
There is
Yeah,
a
there's
progression. And, but setting it up to where there is a transfer of knowledge. One of the drives of the team is it's students teaching students, but how do you make sure that the students are getting taught right in the first place? How do you maintain continuity from year to year to year? And it's not a small team. We've got 87 kids on the roster this year. And there's been some years in the past where the roster was 136, 138. And now we cap it roughly at 80 to 85. Because right now we've got 4 adults that are mentoring this. And none of them are teachers at the school.
That's amazing.
It's volunteer.
Absolutely
So,
amazing.
It's
That's a lot.
it's a blast.
That's
It's a
lot
blast.
of students. That's a lot of
It
students.
is.
Do you do just one? Is it just like one robot you're building, or you have different teams?
No, it's one robot that we're building, and there's actually 2 different teams. There's a team that works with a smaller robot. Their season is different. I don't work with them, and there's a couple of other mentors that works with that group. That team's only about 15 kids. But this group, it is much larger. And right now during build season, we work Monday night, 6 to 9, Thursday night, 6 to 9. They have a meeting Wednesday after school, 3 to 6. And then we'll pull 9 to 5 on Saturday. And those are our working times. And the robots started to really get put together this past week. We're joking, it looks like a Dalek from Doctor Who because of the shape. I posted some pictures of it. It's got this tower that's made out of black and white high density polyethylene sheet. And so it looks the shape of a Dalek from Doctor Who, the old Doctor Who, not the new Doctor Who.
And of course, your school competes with the other schools, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
Our we've got 2 competitions back to back the middle of March. And in the past, you have those 2 competitions, and then you have district champions, and you've got to score well. You've got to make it to the elimination rounds at your district events if you're going to make it to district champs. And in the time that I've worked with the team, we got blown out at district champs. The following year, we made it to Worlds in Detroit. The year after that, we made it to district champs, but didn't make it to go to Worlds. The year after that, didn't make it to district champs at all, and then came COVID.
Right.
And then last year, made it to district champs, but didn't perform as well, but that's all right. It was, those of us who are adult leaders, we've been looking at it as the biggest challenge of all is recovering what we lost as momentum along the way. But one of the things that we did was you can't work on a year of no club meetings, no physical meetings or anything like that. How do you do that? And it's somewhat of a challenge, but what we did was we bought small kit robots and put them in the hands of kids, Raspberry Pi, and an application that they can run that is the exact same software that we programmed the big robot with. And so we unleashed 20 kids that are fantastic robot programmers now. And that was a legacy that we could start building on that has become so important, because no matter what we can do physically with that robot, mechanically with that robot, and we've got a great team of kids that know how to wire it, but it's the controls.
Right.
And they've now gotten their software to the point where they're now choosing points on the field. It's reading April tags. The robot then moves to that position on the field. And they're practicing that while we're still building the robot we'll compete with. So that's, so satisfying, because before COVID, no, programmers didn't even start until we were already halfway built with the robot.
I was
Codes.
talking with a colleague over in the UK, and we're talking about and you brought up COVID, and if you think about the last 6 years, and is Sam still with us? Sam, you still there?
I am still here.
All right. So, because this is up your alley here as an agile guy, think about the last 6 years. Okay. We had Donald Trump with the tariffs, and from a business perspective, Donald Trump with the tariffs. We had COVID. We had supply chain. We have interest rates, or inflation followed by interest rates. We got Putin over there in Ukraine and doing things with the supply chain for food. And for my friend in the UK, he had Brexit in there. Now think about all these gigantic transformational challenges that businesses and people have had to face over the last just 6 years. I can't think of another period in history where there are so many different challenges in such a compressed amount of time. Can anybody?
Oh, you have a short memory.
Yeah, it must.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah.
What was it?
So the entire time that of Thatcher and Thatcherism in the UK, and the turnaround that happened here in the United States with Reagan, the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Oh, that was
I mean, all of those.
Yeah, they're all stretched over decades, though, and they were
Well,
not existential
no,
challenges
the
the way
actual
people did business.
They were it created new opportunities, and there's a constant change that goes on, and there are always challenges tied to that change.
I
don't ever think that this most recent is the most special or anything else.
I don't think that there's,
you can look back in history and go, no, this had a much bigger impact, or that had much bigger
not
impact.
as many, not as diverse, and not as impactful. I mean, what did Thatcher do? I mean, what did she do? She had a skirmish over in the Falklands in the middle of the Atlantic.
Oh,
and Reagan, he went into Grenada. I mean, this is, we're not talking about
I'm not in those
existential
areas.
challenges.
How much change did Thatcher bring to the way that business operated in the UK? Awesome. I mean, that was, and it took somebody in that stern leadership position to make those changes happen. There were a great deal of change that happened here in the United States so, to me, it's, yes, there have been some pretty awesome, boom, 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 change, events that have happened that changed the world. I think the biggest of them all was what happened with COVID. But wars happen, people get, so it's
not so many, not so impactful, not at the amplitude and the magnitude that we've had over the last 6 years. I mean,
I agree with that. I really do, because some of the stuff that we've seen has just been, and everybody that I talk to is just like, they're getting to the point where they're so fed up with everything, and it's just, I mean, a lot of it comes with the age and stuff like that, but it's just, there's so many little variables that are out there right now. It's, getting workers, getting people to work, it's horrible.
So the reason I called out Sam, okay, is because as an agile approach, I mean, we can't have right now, we can't have a 5-year plan. Okay. It's a guess. Okay. We have to understand what's going on in the next 5 weeks, next 5 months, next couple of years, maybe. but who knows what the next couple of months or next couple of years is going to bring, only based on the past, which means that we have to be nimble. I mean, we have to be agile, we have to be iterative, and we have to compress the amount of time it takes to make a decision, because that decision is going to be made for you if you wait too long. What are your thoughts on that, Sam?
Well, I think, first of all, I don't think we've ever really been able to make, like, in our lifetimes, or at least our professional lifetimes, I don't think we've ever actually been able to make a 5-year plan. And I think if we look back, like, I mean, not that long ago, we had the housing crisis, the subprime mortgage, and we had the avian flu, and we had the Arab Spring, and we had the dot-com boom, and the dot-com death, and the millennial bug that wasn't a millennial bug. I don't think we've ever been able to plan that far ahead. We've just pretended we're doing it. I think what's happening now is we are getting so accustomed to this that we are just, people are starting to acknowledge that, yeah, that 5-year plan, that 10-year plan, it was kind of a lucky guess. I think actually, Joe, that you have written substantially about what we need to do. It's about a state of readiness. It's about being prepared to engage in your purpose and not get bogged down, taking a page from Lean that I know we sometimes have mixed feelings about, but it has a lot of wisdom. Avoid the waste, avoid long handovers, avoid, going back to what Mule spoke about earlier, about smart people and people being promoted to their level of their abilities, if we should be polite. We need to have a leadership and an organization in place where we are simply willing to accept that we don't know, and trying to know is foolish. And we will have to, like you said, Joe, we plan in short times, and we invest our money in building people and organizations that are able to respond, rather than people and organizations who are able to fool themselves into thinking that we know what's going to happen in 5 years.
Yeah. So when I was down in Southern Africa, okay, I just marvel at their ingenuity. Okay. And like I said, they're prepared. They live in existence in constant preparedness for things just not working, things not being there, things, jumping out of the woodwork and arresting you for going some miles an hour over the speed limit. It's just, and I marvel at it because they take it in stride and they just react. You know what I mean? They're just like, okay, well, this isn't working, I got to do this. And it's almost to the point down there that when something is working, that's what screws them up. It's like, because they're constant state of chaos. When something does actually work, it's almost something to be celebrated. So I don't know. When I go down there, I come back. It's very, David would appreciate this. Mule would appreciate this, because when you're building the robot, you don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Until you start testing it. And the same is down there. You just don't know until you try. I was down there and I was staying at my client in Joburg. They put me up at this ridiculous resort. I mean, it was like ridiculous. I mean, I was just one guy, and it was just ridiculous. But they called me up and they apologized because they were putting in a new generator. So everybody's got generators down there. I mean, they don't rely on the grid anymore because it just doesn't work. And so everybody that's anybody puts in their own private generator. Don't even talk to me about Greta going down there and visiting. And she would lose her mind. But
they want to take away our gas stoves.
And they want, yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what, that's crazy. I mean, did you ever try to, you guys probably have, an electric stove just doesn't get hot enough. No. You know what I mean? To do a lot of really good things. I mean, people are going to go out and buy propane grills and put them in their kitchens. So that's what'll happen.
Well, that's what we run. We run propane. But what are you going to do? Take my propane grill out, my gas grill outside too?
Yeah,
that's
it.
From my cold dead hands.
That's right. That's right. So,
but it's interesting, as we talk about state of readiness and what I teach the kids, but I also tell clients is you have plan A, you have plan B, you have plan C. You got to have your fallbacks. In a case where I was having to do testimony for a court case, and in explaining that these very highly automated material handling systems, what we do in the whole run-in testing phase is make it break. You break it and you fix it. You figure out why it didn't work and you fix it. And then you move on again and you find the next thing that you break. And you often will go past something that will break multiple times in the testing, and it won't break, because the condition won't be right. And the breaking is always, there was something wrong in the code, or there was a sensor that wasn't working correctly. It's always some sort of small thing. And so the way that I put it in court is that every time you add another system, multiply the amount of time that you've allowed for testing. And so if I have one system and I allowed 8 weeks for testing, and I add another system, well, add those two together, multiply by 2, because that's what it's going to take to test the two of them against each other to capture every possibility. We can't capture every possibility. And so we've got to build organizations and systems that are resilient, that when they run into an error, I do this with an error, and that's what you do with the systems. But with our organizations, we run into a problem, a challenge. We've got people that know how to solve the problem.
Yeah, there's a show on TV. They call it Mayday here in Germany, but it's a U.S. production about airline accidents, aircraft accidents.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's called in the States, but anyway, it's called Mayday here. And what I come away with every episode, there's never ever any single point of failure. It's usually some confluence of events that intersected that caused the event. And so you're right, David, as you introduce more complexity, the iterations and the variables of what can go wrong start to amplify. And, can we really test every little thing? Eventually there's going to be a point where we just have to say, you know what, it's close enough. I think we're going to go ahead and see what happens. There's that, and then you've got the variability of the Mark I human being.
So the Mark I robot, the human being.
Yeah.
And so the Mark I robot, we saw a colossal failure of the Mark I robot at Kennedy Airport just a couple of weeks ago with the runway incursion. Right. And here's what's really interesting about that is the cockpit voice recorder, it records over itself. So 2 hours, they were allowed to take off. They would not engage in any recorded interviews. And so those pilots that were in that cockpit have still yet to be interviewed by the National Transportation Safety Board. And there's a fight going on because NTSB wants to record the interviews. And so, you have a colossal breakdown of what happened it happened within the cockpit. What happened at Austin is another example of a breakdown. And that's not a breakdown.
But all these things are breakdowns, right?
They're breakdowns, but they're breakdowns on the human level. So, and that's, how's this happening? Well, the human level broke down. And it's going to become more important for us to, as we drive more automation in, when does the human element come into play? And then are you overworking that human element? I deal with, that's something else that I'm flying today and I'm thinking about that.
And Sam's flying today too. I'm sure it'll be okay, Sam.
Yeah, I leave on Wednesday.
I'm just taking the approach that there's some things that are out of your control, and all you can try to do is do the best with the time you have. So that's why I'm sitting in the lounge chatting with you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should wrap this up anyway. It's been a very interesting conversation. I had a new guest at the end. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us there, Steve.
Thank you,
It was
Steve.
really great. And thanks for sharing all the insights on what you're doing with the Golf Foundation out there. That was fascinating.
That's really cool.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you guys listening. It's been enjoyable.
Thanks. All right. Well, I guess there's only one thing left to say.
Well,
Don't drive
gee.
like my brother.
Don't drive like either of my other brothers here.
Right. Take care, everybody.
You might get pulled
Okay,
over.
take care. Bye.
Yeah, it might get pulled over.
Take care.
You have been listening to another episode of the Outliers Inn with your hosts, Joseph Paris and David Schneider. This program is produced by the Operational Excellence Society and sponsored by Zonatech Consulting Group International.